Hey guys, Jim here again, and in this week's MMA fight prediction video, I will be covering the UFC 182's main event that features the light heavyweight title grudge match we've all been waiting for. When the greatest light heavyweight champion and pound for pound king, Jon Jones puts his title on the line against his arch nemesis, Daniel DC Cormier, the former Strikeforce heavyweight Grand Prix champion, and what could be another fierce fight for the ages. I will give you guys a backstory to this fight, as well as a full fight breakdown of the two fighters and who have ultimately winning and walking away with that UFC Light Heavyweight Championship next year, live in Las Vegas. Now, without further ado, let's get this thing started right about now. Jones, Cormier. Here we go. After Jon Jones successfully defended his championship for the 7th time against Glover Teixeira at UFC 172 in another dominant performance, I wish the champ outstruck him on the feet, fought him close range, beat him there, took him down, bloodied him up, jacked his arm up, and won the fight by unanimous decision without question. He was automatically set up to face the man who gave him the toughest fight of his career and almost had the title within reach, in Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson, in an epic rematch of their UFC 165 Instant Classic at UFC 178 this September. It was all perfectly aligned. Alex had beaten Manoa, John beat Glover, so everything was all cashed in, right? Nope. The script was flipped when Alex got injured. As a result, Alex was taken out of the fight and replaced with the man who has been calling out Jon Jones for years, even when he was competing at heavyweight, in the unbeaten former Strikeforce heavyweight Grand Prix champion, Daniel DC Cormier, who has been on a dominant 2-fight win streak since his drop down to light heavyweight by destroying Pat Cumming via knockout at UFC 170, as well as most recently his 3-round destruction of Dan Hendo Henderson at UFC 173, on which Cormier took him down round after round, smothered him, top control and ground and pound, until in the 3rd round he took the back, choked him out unconscious with that rear naked choke. There's no secret, there's no love lost between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. They've been talking shit to each other in their interviews, on Twitter. That being said, the heat really intensified between the two when they were up close and personal during the fighter stare downs at the UFC 178 media day. Jon was a little too close for Daniel's comfort, so he subsequently put his hands on Jon's throat. He pushed him. Jon threw a punch in retaliation and answered the question that we were all wondering: can Jon Jones take Daniel Cormier down? He took him down just like that. And of course, it was a PR disaster for the UFC. That being said, it was also a huge positive for the UFC, because I dare say more people cared about that fight now than they cared about the Gustafsson fight. Just when you think it couldn't get any better, that verbal exchange they had after their Sports Center separate interview went off the air, oh, that was sweet, baby. It just fueled the fight even more, and the pay-per-view buys were gonna go through the roof. However, the injury bug would strike again, and Jon Jones would be removed from his scheduled light heavyweight contest opposite of Daniel Cormier, and the Jones-Cormier bout is now set to go down at UFC 182 in January. And one hell of a fight. The question heading into this fight is Jon Jones You're going to go in this fight and show to the world that Cormier is overrated and that there's nobody in the light heavyweight division who can touch him and retain his championship? Or will this be Daniel Cormier's defining night where he breaks bones and becomes the new light heavyweight champion of the world, thus becoming the first man to truly ever beat Jon Jones without controversy? The answer to that question will be coming up next. Now, when breaking down these two elite light heavyweights, obviously Jon Jones has the height advantage over Daniel Cormier at 6'4". Daniel's 5'11", so there's about 6 inches difference there. When it comes down to the reach, Jon has an 84-inch reach. Daniel has a 72.5-inch reach. So Jon edges him by 11.5 inches. I mean, Daniel's been able to close the distance on taller guys with longer reaches before, but this is a completely different game. Besides that, when we examine the cardio of both men, it's rather evident that Jon has excellent cardio. He can go 5 rounds all day. DC has gone 5 rounds with Josh Barnett at heavyweight. He's looked pretty good at 205, but the fact is, though, Pat Cummings' fight was rather quick. In the Dan Henderson fight, he did not waste a lot of energy, so it'll definitely be interesting to see what his cardio is going to look like in a 5-round war against Jon Jones, who isn't green and who isn't old. Onward to the skills. With striking, both guys are great strikers, both very quick and in and out. I think Daniel definitely has a power advantage in this category. But that being said, Jon has a great chin. Secondly, Jon can keep Daniel at bay with his great reach, and he has a lot more versatility in his striking. In contrast, Daniel Cormier has great flexibility, great kickboxing skills, and combinations. In addition to that, a good level change is going for the body and the head, but it's all straightforward. Jon is more non-conventional, creative, and diverse. With Daniel having to come in, Jon can basically see what he's going to throw a mile away and counter effectively. We've already seen closing the distance on him, trying to make it a close range, trading shots in the clinch type of fight. It's not a good idea with Jon, because Jon is one hell of an in-fighter as well as out-fighter. Besides that, Daniel also has a bullseye on his right knee that Jon is going to oblique kick all the way to hell. So, stand-up is definitely going to be rough for DC in this fight, with Jon being more talented than him, along with just having a better overall skill set than him, and with everything else involved, Jon Jones takes the stand-up advantage. Moving on to the wrestling aspect of this fight, Jon Jones most definitely is one of the best wrestlers in mixed martial arts, without a doubt. He's been able to overcome all the wrestlers that were higher ranked than him, whether it was Ryan Bader, Chael Sonnen, Jake O'Brien, Matt Hamill, Rashad Evans, and so on. But this time around, it's not going to be a cakewalk for him, because he's facing arguably one of the most dominant wrestlers to ever enter mixed martial arts, period, in Daniel Cormier, who was an Olympic wrestler as well as NCAA Division I wrestler in college, and has looked outstanding in his mixed martial arts career, stopping every takedown attempt attempted on him and just taking down everybody that he's wanted to take down. The guy has smooth transitions, great takedowns, and awesome top control. Heck, if Alexander Gustafsson can score a takedown on Jon Jones, then it's not a matter of if Daniel will take Jon down, is that he will take him down. That being said, we already have our answer of whether Jon can take down an Olympian like Daniel. He took him down during the media tour. However, I'm going to respectively give the wrestling advantage to Daniel Cormier, but I don't think it's going to be as lopsided as people think. I think it's going to be a lot closer, and their wrestling could very well cancel each other's out. As we've seen oftentimes with wrestlers, that this is going to be a stand-up fight. Alright. For the submission grappling aspect of this fight, Daniel Cormier is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. Jon Jones is a BJJ white belt, but Jon has way more submissions than Daniel Cormier. He has 6 submissions while Daniel has 4, but only 2 of those legit submissions by way of rear naked choke against some unknown heavyweight named Tony Johnson, as well as a submission victory over 2-division Prix champion and former Strikeforce light heavyweight champion Dan Hendo Henderson, which makes him the 4th person in mixed martial arts history to ever submit him, because only 3 people before Daniel ever submitted Dan Henderson: Nogueira brothers, Anderson Silva, and now you can add Daniel Cormier to that. Whereas Jon has submitted more high-profile names than Daniel Cormier. He submitted 2 black belts in Lyoto Machida and Vitor Belfort, as well as Ryan Bader and Rampage Jackson. Jon can submit you with more than just a rear naked choke, because he's got obviously the guillotine choke, pretty much his go-to, as well as an Americana. His skills are just a step above Cormier's in submission grappling. It comes down to the fight itself. Now, there's no secret what Daniel Cormier wants to do when he's locked in there with the champion. He wants to close the distance, make this an in-fight, beat Jon up against the fence, in the clinch, take him down at every opportunity that he has, get that top control, ground and pound him, nullify his submission game, and win this fight via TKO. The thing about it is, though, that's going to be a very tall order for Daniel Cormier to deliver on. And while I think he has an excellent shot of winning the championship, unfortunately for you DC fans, there will be absolutely no refund once Jon becomes the 1 in 15 in Daniel Cormier's record and retains his championship. Effectively wipes the floor with Daniel Cormier, and here's why. First and foremost, Jon Jones has better takedown defense than almost every single fighter that Cormier has faced in his mixed martial arts career by far. Better than Josh, better than Dan, better, definitely, much better than Royce. With that taken into account, Daniel will not be taking Jon Jones down round after round. He might be able to score a couple of takedowns, 1 or 2 at most, but that's all he's getting. And if Jon gets taken down, he's going to wall walk, get back up to his feet, and stuff the remaining takedowns. And or countering with a submission via guillotine choke or anaconda choke, and look to choke him out unconscious. On the other hand, another option would be to try the move that Donovan Razor Roddick made famous to counter, which is the smash. And secondly, on the feet, Daniel Cormier, like everybody else that isn't Alexander Gustafsson, have to come up real close to make this an in-fight with Jon Jones. Therefore, Jon's going to keep him at bay with some jabs to the eye, as well as some elbow jabs to impair his vision. In addition to that, to take away his mobility, some oblique kicks to his right knee, along with some front side kicks. And Cormier, don't worry, Jon will go for your left knee just as well to give you the full experience. More importantly, back him up against the cage in the clinch, wrench up his arm, just like he did in the Glover fight, as well as lay on the punishment and soften him up. And eventually, I take him 5 or 6 attempts, but he will take him down. And when that happens, Daniel's going to try to get the fuck up, because if he doesn't, some vicious, malicious stuff is going to happen. As soon as Jon gets on top of him and starts laying in the kind of vicious, brutal, nasty ground and pound and elbows that only he can inflict, and turn Daniel Cormier into a crimson Olympic mess. Then sink in a headlock and go for that guillotine choke, baby. However, if that isn't disco enough, he can slap in that rear naked choke, crank it up, choke his ass out, and pick up the submission victory. Although I'd love to see him finish, it probably won't happen unless it's a TKO and injury via his knees not holding up the onslaught of those oblique kicks and front side kicks. Ultimately, though, my official prediction for this fight is that Jon Jones will retain his championship for the 8th time, along with Big Daniel Cormier, not his wife, but his bitch, via unanimous decision in a very bloody affair, in front of the thousands in attendance and all the fans watching at home. Switching gears, the next victim for Jon Jones to conquer in his 9th title defense will be Alexander Gustafsson, should he get past his next opponent, who likely will be Anthony Rumble Johnson, in a title eliminator bout. As far as Daniel Cormier is concerned, I know it's going to be tough and heartbreaking to suffer your first loss in the octagon to the man that you despise the most. But it is what it is. Daniel will learn from this, and he will come back strong. Next up, he will likely face Rashad Evans, or maybe the winner of Glover Teixeira and Phil Davis in his comeback fight, and work his way back up the ranks for another title shot against Jon Jones. Alright, this will do it for this fight prediction video. I will see you guys next week for the UFC's 183 Silva and Diaz Super Bowl weekends fight prediction video. Same time, same channel. Jim signing off.